What's up, King Cats? Welcome back to my channel. So today we are here for part 2 of my body composition assessment video. So the first video is more of a lecture style video, if you will, going over all of the different methods of body composition measurement, the accuracy, different compartment models, direct versus indirect, doubly indirect, all of that good happy stuff. So if you consider yourself jacked and nerdy like me, I would highly suggest watching that first just to get a little bit more background information on different kinds of body composition assessment. But today we are here for the practical portion, if we're going to put this in collegiate terms, the lab-based portion, the application-based portion. We're going to discuss my personal DEXA scan results. So as I stated in the previous video, I decided to get a DEXA scan at the end of my last dieting phase just so that I could have comparable data at the end of that dieting phase throughout this reverse diet that I'm in now, where I'm at when I'm starting contest prep and then where I end my contest prep at. So I'm a big data nerd. I like to have as much data as possible. I really enjoy it. I'm a very much so numbers person. When I found diaries from when I was little, and I would literally do like neo-point math, like calculations of how long I would have to play and how many points I would have to earn to get X amount of neo-points and da-da-da-da. Like, I really like numbers is what I'm saying. So anytime that I get an opportunity to compare and contrast data, I'm a big fan. So I went and got a DEXA scan done at Your Body Goal in Louisville, the Elmark Research Center. I believe for your first DEXA scan, it is $120. And then for every successive scan after that, it is either 90 or 100. I don't remember off the top of my head, but DEXA scans are very expensive because they are very advanced machinery. So what we're going to do today is we are going to dive into the discussion of my results, how I'm interpreting them, how I'm using them, how I feel about them, all that good happy stuff. So I have a lot of resources sitting at my feet right now, so I'm gonna be using papers a lot. So if that bothers you, see you later. Love ya. Have a good day. First things first, just different body fat percentage ranges. As we talked about in the first video, DEXA scan results are going to read higher than traditional methods of body composition measurement like skin folds, hydrostatic weighing, things like that. We're not really sure why. And I'm going to re-reference Lyle McDonald's women's book because he did a great job. This is honestly one of my top recommended resources. I know it's very dense. I know it's on the more expensive side, but this is a wonderful, wonderful read and a great resource to have as a coach, as an athlete, all of those things. So I'm going to go ahead and check out and reference his body fat percent reference ranges for different areas of health and fitness. So in his book, as far as the lower limit of body fat percentage via a DEXA scan, he cited that as between 16 and 18%. As the range of in shape by mainstream media standards, he put that as around 23 to 26%. For recommended for health, he put 24 to 31%. And then for physique athletes, he put 16 to 26%. And then for anyone that's curious, for performance athletes, he put that it varies because it truly does vary depending on the athlete and the sport. So those are some reference ranges for different levels of body fat percentage. Now we'll see here, I have lots of different papers worth of printouts from my DEXA scan. Like, this is literally all from my DEXA scan. So what I'm gonna do, rather than trying to show you guys paper and get like the autofocus to work, I'm just gonna scan onto my computer the images so that way they're also clear, and you don't have to try and I don't have to try and point to them, whatever. So I will put those on the screen, and that way I can have these to read off of when I am going over things. And then I also have my notes here. So we're diving right in. I put up a question feature on my Instagram story asking you guys to guess my body fat percentage at the end of a 40-pound weight loss via a DEXA scan. So after my explant surgery, once I was able to get back into training and everything, I did enter a fat loss phase and I was able to lose 40 pounds. Technically speaking, it was at my lowest like 41 and a half, I think, at least based on what I knew my highest weight to be when I called my doctor, because I didn't want to know throughout that whole time. So all I had was like my doctor's references. Anyway, whatever. Most of you guessed the mid to low teens, which I'm flattered. I love y'all, but we are very far from contest lean. We're real far from it. So now, as far as my reading as of June 21st, 2019, drum roll please, 20.5%. So according to Lyle McDonald's book, that does put me within the range for physique athletes, though I would argue that like 16% to 20% for a physique athlete is pretty high. Like to get on stage at 20% body, like if I were to get on stage right now, I would not do well. Let's just put it that way. Generally speaking, that is a very healthy, very fit body fat percentage to be at. Now, I was a little annoyed that I was 20.5 just because I barely missed the teens, literally for no other reason than like, oh, I just missed it by literally just over 0.5%. But it's still a great body fat percentage to be at, nothing wrong with it, very healthy, very livable, very sustainable, all of that. And then also when I take into account my personal fat patterning, this also makes a lot of sense. So if you take a look at my fat patterning, I have very typical female fat patterning, or what's known as gynoid fat patterning. So that refers to storing more of your fat in the hip, thigh, butt area. It is more referred to as like the pear-shaped fat storage. It's generally seen as the healthier fat storage compared to android fat storage, which we see more in men. But I am about as much of a textbook description of gynoid fat patterning as it gets. In modern terms, I have thick thighs. Welcome. This is nothing new here. This is the struggle of my life. I have to diet down for a long time and generally put forth a considerable amount of effort into my contest preps to get my legs where they need to be. That is very normal for me. That's something that I expect. Now, along a similar but somewhat opposite vein, my upper body can get shredded without a ton of effort. I mean, it's still effort, don't get me wrong, but it's much easier for me to lean out my upper body versus my lower body, which a lot of females will be like, yes, I relate. And as you'll see from this DEXA scan, that held true. I didn't have to get super aggressive with this diet, and my upper body got very lean. I will get near stage lean in my upper body, but my lower body will still have like another 8 to 10 weeks that it needs. That's just how my body works. So this was something that was well managed within my last improvement season before everything went to shit. My lower body stayed a lot leaner before my entire system got fucked up from getting breast implants. Anyway, trying not to sound bitter. None of me stayed lean after that, let's be honest. So embarking on this most recent fat loss journey, I was not surprised to see my typical fat patterning and fat loss patterning hold to be true once again. Like that was no surprise. My legs definitely got leaner overall, but I'm still very lower body dominant. I still carry a significant amount of body fat within my lower body. Given the fatness of my lower half, and that is not an insult to myself. Fat is not an insult. It's an adjective. It's a descriptor. It's a noun. Like it's all of those things. It's a descriptor. I have a fatter lower body than my upper body. The end. So because my lower half is fatter than my upper half, my total body fat percentage is higher than what most of you guessed. I'm assuming that a lot of people made their predictions based on what you see of my upper body, because my upper body gets really freaking lean. I was sitting at a very lovely 20.5%, which is not bad or unhealthy at all. But then when you look at the breakdown of regional body fat, my upper half is much leaner than my lower half, as I mentioned. One thing that I do want to outline, and I will put a little thing on the screen, is my visceral fat reading. So visceral fat so we have subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that's like right underneath your skin. That's the majority of the fat that we house, especially as females. And then you have visceral fat. So visceral fat, while it is technically easier to lose, there is more blood flow to that kind of fat. It is seen as generally unhealthier because it is the fat that is sitting on top of your organs. This is generally more indicative of male fat patterning or android fat patterning. When we look at, first of all, what's lovely about this particular DEXA scan, and I can't speak to any other because this is the only kind I've ever had done. It's really lovely because it will show you in terms of your abdominal region where that visceral fat gets housed, the actual composition of your abdominal fat. So total android fat for me, or actually my total android mass, so like this abdominal region here, was 9.8 pounds. The lean mass, my android lean mass, was 8.9 pounds. And then when we look at android fat mass, so the pounds of fat in that android region, it was only 0.7. So my android percentage body fat, so the body fat in this region, was 7.6%. And then when we go down and we look at fat mass for that visceral fat, that deeper layer, so subcutaneous is gonna be a little bit more superficial, and then visceral is much deeper. So when we look at that visceral fat, that unhealthy organ surrounding fat that is more indicative of things like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, dyslipidemia, premature death, all sorts of not super great things, my visceral fat was at 0, like literally 0.00. So that was really great. That is a great marker of health. That is super awesome for me to see. Now, one thing, we're gonna do a couple cool facts. We're just gonna go over everything. This is a nerdy video. Like, that's why we're here. We're nerding out. I had so much fun doing all these kind of, oh. Anyway, we demonize body fat a lot within our culture, but some of it is absolutely necessary, and it's been used as a survival tool for the human race. Because what body fat is it's literally stored energy on your body. It's energy that your body can use and draw upon in times of need, in times of famine, in times of whatever. And it's very, very useful. Obviously, if we have too much, there's potential for different health implications. But in general, fat is a necessary thing on our bodies. It helps keep us alive. Hello, very important. If I am 20.5% body fat, meaning I have roughly 33 pounds of fat on my body, and we accept that 1 pound of fat is roughly 3,500 calories of stored energy, that means I have 115,500 calories of stored energy on my body right now. Cool. That would technically mean, this isn't to say that this would be healthy or enjoyable, but that technically means that I could go a very long time without eating, and I would have the stored energy on my body to sustain that. Again, not healthy, not a good idea, would not recommend. But if a survival situation presented itself where that was necessary, it would be possible for me to live. That is just that. It's an energy reserve for our bodies, and it's the most efficient and practical way for our bodies to store energy for times of need. Another thing that's really exciting about DEXA scans is that they will give you readings for your bone density. So as a female, bone density is super important for our overall health, especially because we are at a higher risk for things like osteopenia or osteoporosis when we go through menopause, or if you've ever gone through a long period without having a menstrual cycle, you are putting your bone mineral density at risk. As far as bone mineral density, it does break your bone mineral density down into grams per centimeter squared. Then it also gives you your T-score and your Z-score. So my T-score was 1.8. It is very comforting to know that I have exceptionally dense bones. One of the main benefits of resistance training, especially for females and just for people in general, is increasing bone mineral density. So I'm very happy that I have healthy bones. That is very, very important for just healthy living and healthy aging. So very excited to see that. Hi guys, my camera overheated, so I decided to eat and have some iced coffee. So we are going to finish out this little discussion. So I believe we left off at, it will show you regionally, but also left to right imbalances. So my left side does seem to have a bit more muscle mass than my right, which is somewhat surprising to me, especially within my legs, because historically I've gotten stronger glute contractions from my right leg. But bodies are weird. Bodies are asymmetrical. Anyway, getting into things, and that'll be a cool thing to see with successive scans as well, is if any of that evens out a little bit, or if I continue to grow but with the same proportionality, with my left side having a bit more muscle mass than my right. We'll see. We'll find out. Also, I wonder, what side do I carry? Weird, because I carry my stuff more on my right side. Anyway, random aside. As I mentioned to you guys, my my fat patterning is so typically female, it's painful. So Lyle McDonald actually talked in that book about how some females will have like 20% body fat in their upper bodies and then like 27% body fat in their like gynoid region, and wouldn't you know, so we talked about my android mass already. My android percent body fat, so that abdominal percent body fat, was 7.6%, and then my percent gynoid fat, 26.6. So she's got a fat ass, is what science is telling us. That's what she's saying. I'm also, kind of what I'm doing here is I'm using this to help predict just a very rough estimate of future stage weights. So obviously this will change, and what's going to matter most in a contest prep is how I'm progressing within that contest prep. I can't get tied to it, oh, well, I said in my DEXA scan video that I wanted to but using this as a general gauge for potential future stage weights is helpful, and it's part of the reason why I'm doing this as well. So based on my best look back in 2016, the Arnold, my stage weight was 128 pounds at prejudging. So I would say that and this is before I got my DEXA scan, I would say that for me, I would expect a future stage weight, you know, after having been off stage for what will be 4 years, to be around 133, maybe 135 pounds. I do feel like I've added a substantial amount of tissue in that time frame, especially after having worked with Alex for 11-ish months, 10? Holy shit, it's almost July. Okay, so for roughly 10 months I've been working with Alex Bush, and his training has been pivotal in my progression. His training gave me the ability to add mass within a dieting phase just because he programs so well, and then I prioritize my nutrition quite well within the macros that I have. It's been a huge game changer, so I truly think that going from my best look previously at 128, I think that I could bring something quite solid at around 133 to 135 pounds when I get on stage. Obviously those numbers could come out vastly different. I could be lighter, I could be heavier, who the heck knows, but I just really like projecting potential numbers. And it's nice to have a shooting range in terms of what I would be looking for in a future contest prep. So yeah, also one thing that we want to make note of here too, by we I mean me, when it comes to that end of contest prep, or like when I had my skin folds done, for example, people get body fat measurements done, so that would include me. At the end of a contest prep, you are glycogen depleted, so we are going to see some increases just in muscle mass readings from that replenishment of glycogen when you are in a more muscle full state versus a muscle depleted state. So that could definitely skew those readings a little bit as well, in terms of like, oh, you added 10 pounds of muscle in 4 years? Probably not. That's just not the case. So we have to take into account that the replenishment of glycogen from someone that is in a very depleted state, that's going to affect your reading. So that is kind of the summation of everything. I personally guessed my own self. I was going to estimate that I was around 22% if I had to guess, so I was a little bit lower than my own estimation, but I would say that this is definitely within a healthy striking range for a future contest prep, and to make some slight muscular improvements from here. I don't have an exact date set for when I'm going to get my next DEXA scan done. I'm still trying to decide if I want to get like a midpoint check throughout the reverse, or just wait all the way until I start a contest prep. I'm trying to decide what I want to do there. I do have to line things up with my menstrual cycle, make sure that I am within where I was before. Obviously I'm 7 weeks into this reverse diet now, so there really wouldn't be much of a point to go and get one done right now, because you're not going to add a significant amount of muscle mass within 7 weeks. So yeah, that is gonna be about it for me today, you guys. If you guys enjoyed this, if you had fun nerding out with me, please leave a comment below, like the video, give it a thumbs up, that whole thing. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. These videos do take me a very long time to create, so any kind of love and support and all that we can get on these is very much so appreciated. So that is gonna be it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I love you lots, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.